Hello, you're watching Kel67 Gaming, and I've seen a couple of these knocking about YouTube recently, so I thought I'd do one of mine and give you my 3 hidden gems that you may have in your collection that you should certainly play. So as collectors, I think we're all guilty from time to time of buying what can best be described as shelf filler. We buy games that don't really get the love that they deserve, and when you see people with huge collections of thousands of games, it's not surprising that quite a few really good games fly under the radar because you can't play them all to any great degree. So what you do is you end up playing your edited highlights, making sure that you play your heavy hitters, and there's some games that you get to know really well, that everyone plays. I've seen a couple of these videos recently where you've got people running down their 3 picks for real hidden gems that you may have in your collection that you should really play, and I thought that I would add into that because there is a couple that I've played that I really think deserve a lot more love than they get. These are games that you probably don't see at all talked about, which is the very definition of a hidden gem, I suppose. But these, in my opinion, are all really great games and really worth your time. If you've got them in your collection, then I hope you feel inspired to pull them off the shelf and give them a real good go. So for the first game that I'd like to highlight, this is going back to the 16-bit generation, and of course being in the UK, 16-bit generation meant Sega Mega Drive, or Genesis if you're in America. And this game is I think quite obscure. I've never really heard anyone talking about it, but I absolutely loved it at the time. Came across it completely by chance at the time. I still love it to this day. This game is Viento. Viento is a action platform game. It's always kind of reminded me a little bit of Strider. I mean, it's by no means a carbon copy. You can see the gameplay here, but the fluidity of the game is somewhere between Strider and I've always caught little bits of the classic RoboCop arcade game by Ocean, and also there's little hints of this vertical platform, and reminds me of primitive Spider-Man games of the same era. But when you put it all together in this package, it's just a great game. Obviously the graphics for a 16-bit game are absolutely flawless, and the soundtrack is just absolutely immense. Anyone who's got this in their collection and maybe hasn't given it the time that it deserves, I really urge you to pull it off the shelf, stick it into your Mega Drive, give it a go. You certainly won't regret it. It is at times hard as nails. With all these 16-bit platformers, you do get there are pixel perfect jumps which really annoy, especially the modern gamer. So I guess if you don't have the nostalgia for the game that from having played it at the time, it may be a little bit more of a barrier to really enjoying it. I don't think it should be, because I think as retro gamers we know what to expect from this era of games. So yeah, that was the first one. That is Viento. The second game that I'd really like to highlight, this is a PlayStation 1 game, and quite an early one too. You'll notice that we're using sprite-based graphics rather than the polygons that the PS1 is traditionally known for. This is a multi-directional shooter where you kind of run and gun. It's Very much in the vein of a commando or something like that, but instead of going top to bottom, it is completely open space where you have to go around meeting your objectives. Could be north, south, east, west, and all points in between. This one is Steel Harbinger. The basic premise of the game is that there's an alien invasion on Earth, and you play as Miranda, who has been infected by the alien DNA, but was saved halfway through her transformation. So she's it's kind of a Blade deal, you know, except instead of being half human, half vampire, half human, half alien, and she's a complete badass. Goes around wiping out the aliens, saving the humans, and eventually, not really a spoiler alert, but eventually defeats the alien invasion. So you've got all that wonderful pixel sprite graphics, which is quite unusual on the PlayStation, although in the early days of the PlayStation you did get a few of these games about. But I think that kind of makes it age a little better than some of the early polygonal games, which really do look very crude and very primitive to modernise. The other thing, real proper nostalgia hit, is this game has got like the cheesiest FMV sequences with real actors playing the part of the in-game characters. Properly cringeworthy, but brilliant. You can see the really bad makeup there on the characters. Miranda does not look like the half human, half cyborg that the illustration on the cover of the game would have you believe. So that's the second game that I would definitely recommend if you've got it in your collection. You pull it off the shelf, give it a go. That's Steel Harbinger. The final game that I'd like to highlight today is a PC game from the early 2000s. This was done by Lionhead Studios, and it is a stunning strategy game. Most people know the strategy games from the likes of Warcraft, Command and Conquer, Starcraft, Age of Empires, that kind of thing, where you know, usually they involve some kind of war sim. This is not really that at all. There is no war sim. This is more akin to a business sim. This one is the movies. The premise of the game is that you have to build a movie studio in Hollywood, starting with nothing. You have to build sets, you have to hire all the relevant staff, and that's not just actors, directors, producers, that sort of thing. You also have to hire people to maintain the set, so you'll need people to build sets for you. You need script writers, of course. You'll need janitors and cleaners to keep the place ticking over. You'll need office staff to manage the intake of hopefuls who want to become movie stars. And for me, one of the best things in this game is the making the movies themselves. You actually get to make movies scene by scene using the actors that you've hired and the sets that you've built, which means that really the only limit on this game is your own imagination. At the time, I seem to remember there was a huge thriving community of people sharing their movies online. Some of these were absolutely awesome. I'll just add that mine weren't particularly brilliant. Obviously the aim of the game is to distribute your movie and have it gross more money at the box office than you spent on it to begin with, which allows you to get extra money to build more sets, hire better people, create more movies, generate more money, obviously build more sets. This is where space can sometimes get to a premium on your lot, because you don't want to be using the same set over and over again. You're not knocking out straight to video spaghetti westerns here. they will not earn you money. And if audiences have seen your sets a dozen times before, they don't want to see a whole film set in this one set. So yeah, you know, you have to really go for it. And obviously you've got your special effects budgets and things like that. Your imagination just goes wild. You can spend hours in this game. So that was the last one that I would like to recommend today. If you've got it on your shelf, pull it off, give it a go. You may lose yourself for a week, but it's well worth it. That's the movies on the PC. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have any of these games in your collection, I hope it's inspired you to pull them off the shelf and give them a go. If you don't have these games, maybe it's inspired you to pick them up the next time you see them when you're out game hunting. As I said, they are not quite as common, so you may not find them as easy. I think the most common of the three is probably going to be the movies. I do see that every now and again. I can't remember the last time I ever saw either Viento or Steel Harbinger out in the wild, as it were. But I'm sure they're out there somewhere. And obviously there's Facebook and Gumtree and eBay and all that kind of gear if you want to search these out. I'll be completely honest with you, I've got no idea what the current value is. They may be worth pennies, they may be worth thousands. But there's certainly games that's worth playing if you can get them. And obviously they don't break the bank. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. That's it for this time. And until next time, if you haven't already, please drop a like, a share and a subscribe. And I'll see you next time.